Hey, Shalom Akim, Yahweh Bashim Yahshai Barakatah, Bashim Rakakwadash, double honors to the apostles and the elders of GMS. Peace and salutations to the hopeful elect. Yeah, I figured I'd start the video showing this lady called Storm from X-Men. And, the reason is because I'm out here sitting outside. Originally, I recorded this video at the park, and it was like a windy day. It made me think about the storm, but I had to redo the video due to something happening. But anyways, it was, what inspired this video was, the weather. I'm outside in the weather. It feels good to be in the weather. And, I'm going in on the topic of controlling the weather, controlling the elements. And I figured I'd show a little bit of Storm from the X-Men because, her main ability is the ability to control the weather. It's pretty cool. As you've seen in the beginning clip, she was controlling lightning, and then she controlled wind. And when you keep watching it, she can do a lot. She can do a lot, man. Control the clouds, control the elements. It's pretty cool. And it made me think about how certain men of the Lord in these times are going to receive the spiritual power to do the same. Just like Yahweh Shai controlled the elements, we're going to have the ability to do the same. Certain men of the Lord are going to receive that power of controlling the elements, man. And when you look up what an element is an element. It says an element is a pure substance consisting of only one type of atom defined by having a unique specific number of protons in its atomic nucleus. Elements cannot be broken down into simpler substances by ordinary chemical means. They are the fundamental building block of all matter with 118 known types of organized atomic number on the Wikipedia periodic table. So that's what an element is. If we're getting specific, because normally when we think about the element, when it's like I'm a little excited. When we think about the elements, we think about rain, water, snow, ice, all similar to water, right? And then, wind, earth, fire, but there are currently 118 known elements in the periodic table. And that's just the known elements, man. Who knows actually how many elements actually exist? We got to think creatively here. We're dealing with Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. So there's actually tons and tons of elements, man. Tons and tons of elements. So, what we watched with Storm, that was just the tip of the iceberg. There's when the men of the Lord receive the spiritual power to control the elements, you're going to see some new elements. You're going to see stuff that you've never seen before. It's going to be crazy, man. I mean, controlling matter, controlling energy, controlling the trees, controlling the grass, controlling metal, everything. When you controlling other people's bodies, because the bodies are nothing but made up of dirt, made up of the ground, so if you can control the elements by default, you can control other people's bodies, telekinesis. So let's get a couple of scriptures showing you that you're going to be able to control, that certain men of the Lord are going to be able to control the elements, as Yahweh Shai did when he was on the scene. And yeah, let's get some scriptures on that. So first and foremost, we have to know everything that we read about Yahweh Shai. We have to know that we're going to be able to do that as well. And here's the proof of that. John 14:12. Verily, verily, I say unto you, he that believeth on me, the works that I do shall he do also, and greater works than these shall he do, because I go unto my Father. So what Yahweh Shai did, the men of the Lord are going to do the same. We're going to do the same works and greater works than what he did. And when you think about everything that he did, it's so much. He transformed his appearance in front of the top 3 disciples. He spoke so loud that it moved the crowd. Went invisible before, manifested food, controlled water, stepped on water. We're going to read that, and we're going to read how he calmed the storm. So these are literally the ability to control the elements. And that's authority. That's authority right there. And we're going to have that same authority and greater than even what he had when he was here on the scene, because we're living in much more crazier times. The key point in this verse is the works that I do shall he do also, and greater works than these shall he do. So certain men of the Lord are going to receive spiritual powers based upon this precept alone, right? Based upon this precept alone. And we know that because it said, the works that I do shall he do also. So the works that Yahushua did, we're going to do those same works, man, and greater works. I always bring out the scripture because it's proof that, spiritual powers is in the scriptures. Because all the miracles that he did, you got to think, okay, then the men of the Lord are going to do that as well. And I'm about to prove it, man, showing you how we're going to be able to manipulate the elements because Yahushua did it. So that means we're going to do it as well. All right. So let's get some of that precept. Matthew 14 and 22. Right. And straightway Yahushua constrained his disciples to get into a ship and to go before him unto the other side while he sent the multitudes away. And when he had sent the multitudes away, he went up into a mountain apart to pray. And when the evening was come, he was there alone. But the ship was now in the midst of the sea, tossed with waves, for the wind was contrary. So there was a storm, heavy winds. It makes me think about today. It was heavy winds today, man. Keeps knocking off the cover on the car, heavy winds. And in the fourth watch of the night, Yahushua went unto them walking on the sea. That's spiritual power. That's spiritual power, man. Walking on the sea. What does that make you think about? Naruto. If any of y'all out there watch a little anime, man, in Naruto, they can put chakra on their feet, allowing them to walk on the sea, allowing them to walk on walls. Hell, some of them can even walk on air. Might Guy can step on air with chakra on his feet. Or he kicks off the air really fast. But, you get the point, man. This is stuff that we only see in TV shows, man, in movies. But do you actually believe that a man that, once lived and roamed the earth actually did this before? That's the question, man. Do you have faith that this was actually done before? Because if you believe that this actually happened, then you should believe that, we're going to do that as well. All right. So again, it says, and in the fourth watch of the night, Yahushua went unto them walking on the sea. So Yahushua, that's spiritual power, man. Yahushua was able to walk on the sea, and that's manipulating the elements. Clearly, he had to somehow, however he did it, he had to manipulate his body, and he had to manipulate the water in order to walk on it. That's manipulating the elements, right? That's why I showed Storm in the beginning, her controlling the lightning. And her controlling the wind. That's the power that we're about to have. And it's going to be greater than what you see in these little TV shows and movies, man. They only do the bare minimum. We don't really know what it looks like to see a man of the Lord with true spiritual power. We don't really know what that looks like. All we can do is imagine. But who knows what is the real magnitude, man? How quick he's going to destroy these, when all hell breaks loose, how quick he's going to destroy people, man. Destroy these troops and stuff like that. When they come up to try to get us, when we're on the run during martial law and when all hell breaks loose, so who knows what it's actually going to look like, man. All right. One can only imagine. But when we watch these movies and TV shows, that gets us amped up because we picture ourselves doing that. Just like Yahushua did it, we going to do it. Verse 26, and when the disciples saw him walking on the sea, they were troubled, saying, it is a spirit, and they cried out for fear. But straightway Yahushua spake unto them, saying, be of good cheer, it is I, be not afraid. And Peter answered him and said, Lord, if it be thou, bid me come unto thee on water. And he said, come. And when Peter was come down out of the ship, he walked on the water to go to Yahushua. But when he saw the wind boisterous, he was afraid, and beginning to sink, he cried, saying, Lord, save me. And immediately Yahushua stretched forth his hand and caught him and said unto him, O thou little faith, wherefore didst thou doubt? And we're going to see a reoccurring theme when we read these scriptures is that Yahushua always says, O ye of little faith, showing you the importance of faith. You know, you got to have faith when the wind comes. And the wind is representation of trial and tribulation. You know, the scriptures speak in metaphors, parables, dark sayings. So the wind or the storm or the tempest is symbolic for trials and tribulations that come in your life. And you have to have faith when those things come. Verse 32, and when they were coming to the ship, the wind ceased, right? And that right there is another small but still noticeable example of spiritual powers that Yahushua had. Because do you think it was a coincidence? Right? I point this out because, you know, it's a small verse, but do you think it was a coincidence that the wind ceased as soon as Yahushua came into the ship? No, man. Yahushua controlled the storm to stop. Right? As we're going to read in Matthew 8, you know, he did the same thing. But a storm just doesn't randomly stop like that, man. You got to, you know, think about it, man. It says, and when they were come into the ship, the wind ceased. So Yahushua controlled the storm to stop when they went into the ship. That's spiritual powers, controlling the elements. You know, Storm from the X-Men ain't got shit on Yahushua. You know, he controlled the whole nature to stop, man. Makes you think about, you know, when all hell breaks loose, we may be on the run, and it may be raining. You know, it may be raining, man, and you may be with your family, people you're protecting through the spirit, and all of a sudden, you know, you throw up a quick prayer, and then the rain stops. You know, you throw up a quick prayer, and then the winds calm down. You know, this is what we're coming into, man. This is what's going to happen. You know what I mean? This is what's going to happen. Then they that were in the ship came and worshipped him, saying, of a truth, thou art the Son of God. So Yahushua had the power to control the elements. As you see, he walked on the water. So somehow he had to control the water and control his body, which is nothing more than elements, right? Somehow he controlled he ceased the wind, you know, the storm that was storming, you know. So different men of the Lord are going to have that same power and authority as well. We're going to have that same power to control the storm as well, control the elements as well, because we read it in John 14 and 12. Those that have the same, we read it in John 14 and 12. The works that I do, greater works shall he do also. All right. So let's get another precept, right? And when you think about controlling the elements, you think about shows like X-Men, Avengers, Avatar, The Last Airbender, you know, those type of shows. And those shows give you a glimpse into how strong it is, man. And anyone that controls the elements, controls the weather, controls the wind, they're always overpowered. Storm is an Omega level mutant. Omega is the highest level mutant that you can possibly be. And she's one of the strongest mutants in X-Men because she can control the weather. Iceman, I think his name is Iceman. He's another Omega level mutant who can control ice. So anytime someone manipulates the elements, they're always super strong. How much more a man of the Lord, you know, when we're in Jacob's trouble, you know, all hell's going to be broken loose. You're going to have people on the streets with guns, weapons, swords, spikes, armor, vests. We're going to need some type of power and authority to beat them. You're going to see men of the Lord earth bending. You're going to see men of the Lord fire bending, man. All right. Shooting out, controlling the wind, blowing armies away. You know, running through an army, shooting fire out their hands, man. That's what you're going to see. You know, walking on water like Yahushua did, man. levitating, man. You know, controlling the whole ocean, controlling the whole sea, stuff like that. You know, because we're going to do greater works than what Yahushua did. What Yahushua did, that's only the, hey man, that's giving you a glimpse into what's really about to come. All right, so this is Matthew 8:23. It says, and when he was entered into a ship, his disciples followed him. And behold, there arose a great tempest in the sea, insomuch that the ship was covered with the waves. But he was asleep. So you got a great storm. And his disciples came to him and awoke him, saying, Lord, save us, we perish. And he saith unto them, why are ye fearful, O ye of little faith? Then he arose and rebuked the winds and the sea, and there was a great calm. But the men marveled, saying, what manner of man is this, that even the winds and the sea obey him? So Yahushua had the ability to control the wind and the sea. All right. Real life superhero Yahushua was, man. What, you know, that even the winds and the sea obey him. That's authority. That's power. You know, that's a miracle that he did, man. And the men of the Lord in these times, Rosh Zionala always says in these times. He all, you know, whenever I talk to him about spiritual powers, he always puts emphasis on how in these times, you know, on this side, I'm sorry. That's what he says. That's what he says. On this side, that's what he says. On this side, we're going to receive the power, you know, on this side, man, meaning before we get translated in those new bodies. And before we go up on the chariot, certain men of the Lord are going to receive the authority to control the winds and the sea. You know, metal bending, earth bending, fire bending, air bending, controlling oxygen, you know, controlling all the elements on the element table. Because remember, there's more than just, you know, the common 4 or 5 elements, you know, earth, water, fire, air. There's more than that, man. There's a whole bunch of elements, you know. Rosh Monagon always says, hey, who knows? And he always says, who knows? There may be 144,000 elements. You know, each man of the Lord got his, each person of the 144 got his own element. You know, we can only imagine, man. But the men of the Lord are going to be able to control the weather and control the elements just as Yahushua did here in these verses that we're reading. You know, and this is just inspiration, you know, motivation to motivate you for the rest of your day and or night whenever you're seeing this, because we always have to keep this in mind. We're going to receive the power on this side, man. AI and all that shit ain't going to have nothing on the men of the Lord that receive the power to control the elements, as we're reading about. So, you know, Lord willing, this was edifying. I'm going to stop it there, giving all praises to Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushai, by Hashem Rakah Kodash. Shalom.